Totally. And so there's two barriers there. I think, yes, absolutely, they're not clear about what those attributes are. But
Mm-hmm.
also, even if they were making an attempt to figure out what those attributes are, what my observation has been is that they are not in the context of their specific business,
That's
because
right.
guess what? They're not, none of those attributes are covering those two middle boxes that you were just showing, kind of in the four
Mm-hmm.
box, prop, Reg, like, so when you go from intent to implement without paying any heed or attention to the intelligence or the target, um, pieces, well, guess what? You are not putting all the attributes, first of all, on the table that matter. And more
Mm-hmm.
importantly, not only are you not putting all the attributes on the table, even if you are putting the attributes for strategic intent and implement on the table, they're hardly ever in the context of your business.
That's right.
And that's the
That's
whole norming makes me storming conversation from,
Yeah,
weeks ago.
and we're doing pretty good on time, and I think that that's
Yeah.
worth just a little bit of just a little bit of unpacking, because and I actually see a comment from
Yeah.
here from someone. I'll just read it out loud.
Yeah.
People
It's
talk
from
about
Jeannie. Yeah.
alignment to strategy, but often that is a very smoky notion, rarely done well. It seems that going through the intelligence and target steps make alignment real, as it brings intent down to real work. Your thoughts? Well, first of all, I agree with,
Agree.
is that Jeannie
Yes,
Coyle,
that's Jeannie. Yeah,
the great
that's
Jeannie
Jeannie.
Coyle,
Yeah. Yeah.
that said that. I actually agree about it. And my thoughts is that it's why people are struggling with the use of analytics in the first
Correct.
place. And we have MIT releasing articles called Leading with Decision-Driven Data Analytics. Because if you don't have a great leadership process and it's smoky for you, you're going to swirl with your analytics.
Yeah.
And so to me, that's just a great piece of that here. But the second is true as well, is that if you don't apply analytics to your leadership process, you're never going to figure out how to be on point with what you're doing from a leadership development perspective, right? It's like you say that it's this virtuous cycle, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think, the virtuous cycle there's a very there's a very fine line between virtuous cycle and spin cycle, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Because
there's the title of there's the
yeah.
title. I want to mark this in the video. There's the title of one of our cuts from this. There's a fine line between virtuous cycle and spin cycle.
Yeah, totally.
Fantastic.
Yeah, because going back to the whole IPO framework, and why I love it so much, and if I had to translate that to kind of my training, which is more from the analytics perspective, and we talked about the describing, the diagnosing, the predicting, and the prescribing.
Yes.
You can't do any of those without having a full understanding of what your input attributes are, and you can't have a good model to predict outcomes unless you have all your input variables that cover the variance of what your outcomes are, right? So if I'm trying to predict overall sales, just to use that as an example, I need to capture at least 80% of the variables that are driving overall sales.
That's right.
Right. So similarly, if I'm trying to, build sustainable performance outcomes basis my leadership development protocols or process or management systems, how am I doing that if I don't have all the attributes that capture at least 80% of the variance of those business outcomes? Do you see what I'm saying? And so this is why I feel that it's a virtuous cycle if you do it well. If you don't do it well, and you kind of you enter the highway halfway through and exit the highway halfway through, well, it becomes a spin cycle, right? You keep just swirling, and then everybody gets all confused, and worse outcome is you give analytics a bad rap, leadership analytics a bad rap, and then the industry starts kind of saying, oh, well, we really can't measure that because it's too soft, or the signal is too low or too small. Do you see what I'm saying, Reg? And then we kind of give ourselves a pass.
Yeah, I would say, and I agree wholeheartedly. And then the way I would say it is, when you take a look at great leadership brings prowess to analytics, the analytics field can get to spin cycle if they don't have a great leadership process.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
If they're only going from long term to short term, and they're
Yeah.
not taking a look at all of these pieces
Oh,
about
absolutely.
what we know drives better results inside an organization, then you are going to spin with your analytics.
Yeah,
right.
totally.
And the second is true as well, is that for the second part of this renewal story about leadership analytics, which is analytics brings prowess to leadership. If you're not clear about great leadership, and how you define that and what its attributes actually are, you're going to continue to be stuck in the spin cycle with the business coming to you and saying, what do we know about how our leadership capability impacts turnover?
Right.
What do we know about that?
Right.
What do we know about how our leadership capability impacts our efficiency ratio?
Yep. And
what do we know about how our leadership impacts market capture? What do we know about those things?
Yeah.
If you do not have this, you're going to continually be in a spin cycle. And it starts with clarity of the attributes of what does exceptional leadership, great, fantastic leadership look like for all leaders inside your organization in the box right here. Fine line between spin cycle and
virtuous cycle. Yeah, absolutely. And even as you were saying that, I think the key operating word is our, right? Because I think we generally know, or we generally think we understand, what is good leadership development and how does that impact turnover, right? That's I think Gallup's made a lot of inroads and influence in that topic of saying, hey, you know what, engagement drives attrition, right? And great leaders actually drive highly engaged teams. So in general, we know that. But the point is not just knowing that. I think the key operating word, to your point, is our.
That's right.
What do we know about our leadership prowess and how it drives our team attrition? What do we know about our leadership prowess and how it drives above average innovation against our competitors? Right.
That's right.
That's the key. And if you don't build those attributes with the context of your business, or you don't measure, those attributes in the context of your business, then I think you're spinning. Because we generally think it's a great idea, but if somebody were to force us to sit down and articulate what it is, we probably wouldn't be able to pinpoint why it is a great idea.